شكرا أستاذ رضا على الاستضافة وشكرا جميعا على حضوركم. We'll try to make this very short. I'll start to talk about who we are and what Mzaien is. Mzaien is a fintech application. We call it internally a wealth management application. Also, we call it a super app for money. Our aim is to gather all the fintech or financial stuff that we can get and make it in one application with the user that he can use. Basically, Mzaien has three main parts. The first part is financial analysis and financial tracking, is where we allow the user to connect his bank account using open banking technology, and then we can fetch his data, and we can process it and categorize the transactions for the user, allow him to see some expense tracking. We allow him to add budgets, limit the budgets. We give him an overview about over his expenses overall. The second part is the obligations management, which the user can go and see his obligations, track them, print them. Currently, this is partially done, not fully done, but we'll have more to talk about it soon. The next part is the investment part, where we use robo-advisory to make users open open investment account within 2 to 3 minutes, and then we allow him to deposit the money. He even can do recurring payment, so we can pay in for investment every month, for example. Now, the main point here is that for the user, he has only one account that he can access all those features for. One account that he can access all these features. This means that Mzaien is basically one app for the user, but internally, underneath, there are multiple apps or multiple products that we develop. And in order to achieve this level of scalability, because of course in the future we'll have even more apps, we'll have even more products, so we need something in terms of technology that is very scalable for us, that is also allowing us to keep the momentum of developing features and the speed of developing features. So as a front-end team, we will be talking about the experience for the front-end part. Now, back then in 2019, the founding team had different goals when developing Mzaien, because at that time, it was a very minimal product. It was only about open banking, and the main goal with it was to validate the idea and to convince investors to put money into the company. So the goals was very different. So the mobile development or mobile application development scene at that time was not very different from now. So we'll explore the options. First option is developing with native applications or native technologies, which is basically using Kotlin and Java for Android and using Objective-C and Swift for iOS. But this, as you can see, it's not very viable option, because it means that you're going to develop the app twice. Also, the founding engineers didn't have the knowledge to do that, and so it was not a viable option. Second option is developing it with Vue technologies like Ionic, Cordova, and so on. And those are basically didn't have a good repetition, especially because bank apps maybe. But overall, even the experience for them doesn't feel like a native app. But I think they're a good option if you know what you're doing with them. The third option is Flutter, or cross-platform with Flutter. Flutter in 2019 was not very popular at that time. Also, it introduced a new programming language, which is Dart, which not a lot of people were knowledgeable about. The fourth thing, which, spoiler alert, is the one that we chose in 2019, which is React Native, because it combined the best of two worlds. First, it is compiling into a native app, and at the same time, it uses JavaScript and web technologies in order to build your apps, and you build them once. Now, the idea is, in 2019, we chose React Native for different goals. We didn't know what we're going to be in the future, or 4 years ago, or 4 years after that. So in 2024 now, how is the experience developing React Native? And this is what we're going to talk about. Starting with the experience for building, releasing, and updating the application. Now, every week in Mzaien, we usually have 2 to 3 updates. Sometimes it can go up to 10 updates per day. So the frequency of releases are very high. Not all of those releases are going to product. Some of them are just internal. Not all of them are going to users. Some of them are internally used, like by the development team or the product team. Sometimes we reject most of them. So basically, 10 releases means that we build 10 times per week. And usually the amount or the time it takes us to build is from 1.5 hours. Now, this is because the release process is actually divided into multiple processes inside it. It goes from signing the build, uploading the source maps, building the actual build, switching the environment, whether it's production or staging environment, increasing the app version, and all of that, you have to do it twice, of course, for Android and iOS. Now, what helped us move or make this very much better, or improve the time for it, also improve the usability, because since the release cycle or release process is very long, it means that it has a lot of manual process and only like 1 or 2 people on the team who actually know how to do it. So we needed to come up with something better. First, there are 2 technologies or tools that we use that changed our release process. First is Expo and CodePush, and we'll talk about both of those individually. Starting with Expo. Expo is a company that develops tools which helps React Native developers build better apps. This is the basic idea of Expo. And we're going to talk especially about the Expo EAS services or Expo application services, which is a tool developed by Expo to enable developers to or facilitate the build and submit process of apps. Now, we use Expo. Expo has some commands that you can use to build and submit your applications, but we took it and dropped it in a bigger command. We call it the deploy command in Malaa. And we use other commands that we built with the Expo command to make the build process easier. So here's what it looks. You're starting with writing yarn deploy, and then it asks you a few questions. After you answer that, the build is going to start. For example, do you want to upgrade the version? Whether the upgrade is a batch upgrade, minor upgrade, major upgrade. Also, it asks you whether you want to deploy iOS, Android, which variant the release you want to deploy, whether you want to deploy it in the cloud or not, and also it asks you whether you want to upload the source maps. After answering those questions that anyone on the team can answer, it takes only 15 to 20 minutes to deploy. So we went down from 1.5 hours to 20 minutes, which helped us a lot. And also remember that you can build on the cloud if you want, but in the cloud, of course, it's going to take time, but your device is not going to be occupied. So you can work on something else while it's deploying on the cloud. I really encourage anyone working with React Native to try something like this. It saved us a lot of time, and we can discuss this later. Now, the second thing is the CodePush. CodePush is kind of a magical tool. It allows you to update your application without going to the App Store review, whether on Android or iOS. And this happens because JavaScript or React Native is built on JavaScript. JavaScript is a script that you can fetch. Since you can fetch it from anywhere else, it means that you're able to deploy or update your app. And basically 95% of our app is written in JavaScript. Now, what's good about Expo, or what's good about CodePush is that you can customize the experience for the user. You can display the update command however you want. You can make it even force it on the users or make it optional. You can set the percentage of how many users you want to update the app. And it's very ideal for quick fixes and bug fixes that you want to deploy to users immediately, because it takes about 2 minutes to deploy CodePush update. Now, a fun story about that happened 2 weeks ago from now. We submitted an update to iOS or Apple. They rejected it because of a permission thing. It took us like 3 days to submit another release. It's again rejected. We wanted to submit something to our app or to our users very fast. It was critical. So CodePush saved us at that time. This is why I say it's magical, and it can be a reason to switch from something like native development into something like React Native. I know it's available in other technologies, but we're currently talking or focusing on React Native. Now, yeah, that's it about Code Push and Expo and the release experience. Now, Abdullah is going to join.
يعطيك العافية وضح، ما قصرت. حياكم الله جميعا. طيب. Continuing on what Wadah have displayed to you, since we are using React Native, let's talk about what makes React Native more appealing than other cross-platform solutions. I'm sorry. As Wadah have mentioned before, React is built on React Native is built with JavaScript, but it produces native components for both platforms. This enables the user to feel the real native feeling on each platform. You don't have a unified experience for both iOS and Android, which can be considered as an advantage. You don't want it to be unified always. Some Android and iOS users want it to be unified, but we consider it as an advantage. Having native components, the React Native view combines to UI view on iOS and view on Android, give us the benefit of built-in components that are accessible by default. You don't need to make a lot of effort to make your app accessible. By accessibility, I mean area labels and so on, if you are interested in that topic. But keep in mind, this is for the primitive components. When you make customized component, you need to do a lot of more effort to make this accessible. Okay, other advantage, since we are using React Native, we are allowed to use Expo packages and SDKs and so on. Expo makes, they have the cloud, their own infrastructure and so on, but also they make a lot of packages and modules that help and improves the development and experience with the React Native apps. One example of that is Expo Go. Expo Go is a simple application that anybody can install in both systems. It allows quick feedback. You don't need even to send or build your app. You can open a tunnel from your local device and send the QR code to the product team and let them try the app immediately. You don't even need to do a build. One of the best packages that Xbox provides is the router. Routing on native or even React Native is kind of hectic till now. Expo team or even Bacon, the creator of Expo router, made a great universal router. This router works on iOS, Android, and web, since React Native can work on web also. And they have a lot of other packages, almost 50 packages between permissions, location, battery, and so on. You should give it a look. Lastly, it's true that we are using JavaScript to build the UI and so on, but we also can utilize our link between native stuff and React Native. For example, we had for 1 month or two a redesign for our app. One of the main key differences in the app was something that the product team wanted. If you use Figma, there is an effect called corner smoothing. It basically makes the corner smoother. There is a border radius, but it doesn't have that effect. This thing is built on iOS, but it's limited to 60% as corner smoothing. So what we have done, we have searched for packages to do that. We have found one that uses SVGs to draw the whole container and what's inside it. It was working fine. It was working fine for a bit, but we have noticed that it has a bad effect on performance. So Wadah have went into a rabbit hole to figure out how to make this with native components. So now we have made a package called Expo Squircle View. This allows for developers using React Native to have this squircle effect. Squircle means something between a square and a circle. To have a more elegant and unique UIs. Another use case we had also from the product team, they have requested us to use Rive. Rive is an alternative to Lottie animations, if you know that. It basically more performant, less in size, and has state machines. Rives work with React Native and Expo by default, but they require us to put animation assets into the native iOS and Android folders, which is kind of okay, but if you know Expo, they have something called continuous native development. It is, how to say it? It's kind of an approach that builds the iOS and Android folders every time you run this command for certain reasons, adding assets, modifying files, and so on. It is used in multiple ways. It's basically a script that does something in the native folders. So we have went into another rabbit hole to allow us to use Rive locally. You can check it in our repos. I have mentioned some advantages, but nothing is perfect in life. We are in dunya in the end. So there are some challenges I faced myself as my experience as a web developer went into mobile development. One of them is the inconsistency of implementations. This negates the first advantage I have mentioned before in some context. Usually designers and product teams design as everything as an iOS app. But in our case, not everything that is possible on iOS is also possible on Android or does look the same. One of the examples is the alert. The alert, we all know it on iOS. It's beautiful, efficient, and so on. The Android one is kind of outdated UI-wise. So it's something to keep in consideration. Use the native stuff. You will have different implementations and UIs for each one. Another thing, it may be not apparent here, but one of our aesthetic we are having at Mala'a is doing blur stuff. To implement this, we have used Expo Blur. It's a package from Expo that adds blur review, glassy blur review. It worked fine for iOS, but when we have tested on Android, it didn't feel the same, nor worked perfectly. It even broke our navigation. So we have found out that Android doesn't have blur effect at all. So keep in mind, using React Native, you have to consider both systems and so on. Another of the disadvantages or challenges is the debugging limitations. As I have mentioned before, with my web development experience, it was way simpler and easier to debug stuff, either network tab, using custom extensions, and so on. On React Native, the ecosystem or the status of debugging is not the best. Meta had made an app called Flipper. Flipper is a debugging tool for network and a lot of stuff. For me, it didn't work perfectly for some reason, and now they are deprecating it. and replacing it with Chrome DevTools and so on. Chrome is fine, it works, but when it connects to the simulator, sometimes I'm sure if you use or if you develop in React Native, you have seen this, the upper debugging connection issue. So it's not the best experience on debugging. Lastly, performance on Android using React Native is not the best. This is caused because okay before before saying this, we have said that React Native produces native components and so on, but to display them, to give them style and layout, React Native uses JavaScript. JavaScript is not the fastest language ever. It's not the best, but it is what you have. So on iOS, the JavaScript engine is called JavaScript Core. It's performant. It doesn't use just-in-time compilation. But for Android, they use just-in-time compilation, which is not the best. For start, basically, whenever you open the app needs to create a new VM, JavaScript VM, to run your app. It is not fast on Android. So Meta or Facebook have made another JS engine called Hermes. It is built to be performant on React Native apps, and they are having more advanced stuff, something called static Hermes, in the near future. So make sure to test and make your app on Android to make sure the performance is usable. Yeah, I know our market demographics, almost all users use iOS, but you have to make sure Android is also working probably. Okay, I wanted to display some of big players and who use React Native in their applications globally and locally. For global market, Amazon, Shopify, Microsoft, Meta, Discord, Coinbase, Tesla, Uber Eats. There is a lot of big companies that use and invest in React Native. Shopify, for example, they have made Flash List, which is a more performant flat list. Microsoft is investing on React Native Windows and Mac OS, as I know. Meta for sure, React Native is built by Meta. They always try to improve it. Locally, we have, to my knowledge, Sella and Zed and Noon using it as e-commerce platforms. Mala'a, الراجحة للماء as fintech platforms. Risal, Ijaro, Ninja as SaaS products. So React Native is used widely in both locally and globally. Yeah. Okay. Final thoughts and ideas about React Native going on. Meta and the ecosystem are developing and not reinventing. They are trying to fix fundamentals issues that React Native had using Fabric Render and React Surface Component and React Strict DOM. There are a lot of movement to improve what do we have right now by the community and React Native team. Thank you for listening. I hope you have enjoyed that.